So the main features of Nazism and the aims of Hitler. Hitler's cult, his creed and his philosophy were called Nazism. The following were the main principles. Firstly, the people exist for the state rather than the state for the people. He believed in totalitarianism state. He tolerated no opposition or criticism and to allow no party formation other than his own. He put an end to parliamentary institutions and the democratic governments. To have full control on education, press, radio and other means of propaganda, means whatever he wanted to release, he would release. Nothing else, nobody could say anything. He crushed communism and liberalism. Uphold the belief in the superiority of the German race and blood, and to establish that it was their destiny to rule over the world. He means they belong to the Aryan race. The Germans belong to the Aryan race, and Aryans were born to rule. So eventually Germany will rule the entire world. Turn out the Jews from Germany, because Hitler believed that the First World War was lost because the Jews, they sent out all the important messages to the other countries. That is why. So he hated the Jews and he wanted to remove the Jews from Germany. He announced the Treaty of Versailles and disgraceful, and to regain the lost and ceded German territories which were taken away during the First World War by the Treaty of Versailles, and also to make Germany a strong military power and to carry the swastik mark all over the world. The German flag mark, the army flag mark is the swastik mark. Okay? And to inculcate the spirit of nationalism among the German people. So these were some of his important features which Hitler carried, and people accepted it as well. So we have studied about Nazism and we have studied about fascism. Now in this topic we will see the similarities. There are certain similarities in Nazism and fascism. Okay. So what are the similarities? Firstly is totalitarianism and opposition of democracy. Both these parties did not want any kind of elections to be held, and they wanted that their party should always be there without any kinds of elections. Okay. Then secondly, aggressive nationalism. Obviously both these countries accepted the people to love their country, to live for their country and even to die for their country. They did not want the people to go against their country or against their government. Then racial superiority. Italians, they felt that they belonged to the Roman Empire and Roman Empire was the most superior, whereas in Nazism, Hitler always accepted that the Germans, they are from the Aryan race and they are the most superior race in the world and they are born to rule. Okay. Then opposition to individualism. An individual citizen had no importance because every citizen was for the country and country was not for the citizen. Means country can die for the citizen. Citizen can die for the country, but the country will not die for any citizen. Okay, citizen can give the life for the country. Then you have the anti-communalism. And anti-communism, fascism claimed to be neither capitalist or socialist. It protected private property but placed it under the state control. Strikes and lockouts were forbidden. Rapid rearmaments and industrial growth were placed in the hands of the government, as the country had been placed under the perpetual war economy. And lastly is the anti-intellectualism. Mussolini believed that if the faith that moves mountains, not reasons. His motto to his countrymen was to behave, to obey, to fight. The fascists and Nazis sought to create the society based on myth. Example, leader is always right. International peace is a coward's dream. Imperialism is the internal law of life. Extolled war and militarism. Hitler and Mussolini both believed that a strong state was necessary to take the nation forward. They glorified the use of force very brutally. Now, if there are certain similarities, obviously there will be certain differences in Nazism and fascism also. Okay. The main differences were Fascism originated in Italy, and Nazism originated in Germany. Secondly, fascism in Italy was not so effective as Nazism was in Germany. The system failed in creating self-sufficient and eliminating unemployment. The Nazis were more ruthless as compared to the fascists. The Italian system didn't indulge in mass atrocities as Hitler did with the Jews in Germany. Though the fascists were in absolute control of the state, the monarchy still remained in Italy. Means there was a leader above Mussolini. Whereas in Nazism, in Germany, there was no other leader above Hitler. He was totally independent because the king had already fled to Holland. Okay. So these were some of the differences which we see in Nazism and fascism. In this verse, we are going to talk about Hitler's domestic policy as well as Hitler's foreign policy. Okay. So firstly, we talk about Hitler's domestic policy. Firstly, setting up a strong nation state in Germany. Okay. It also called the Reign of Terror. Hitler worked for the unity and strength of Germany. He abolished all the provincial governments and Germany was totally centralized. She became a dictatorship. With all powers in the hands of her leader, all opposition parties eliminated, criticism disallowed, rights denied to the people, democracy crushed, and a secret police under the name of Gestapo established. It spied upon the people. If anybody spoke anything against the government, they were severely punished or they were disbanded. One leader and one party, the Nazi Party. In this way, national unity was brought about in Germany, and radio, the press, and all other means of propaganda were controlled by the state. Even education was replanned so as to promote Nazism, German nationalism, and a unity. In 1934, Hitler became the supreme commander of army. He replaced German flag by the old imperial insignia. He dissolved the Catholic Youth League and closed down Catholic schools. He arrested thousands of priests and nuns and sent them to the concentration camps. Secondly, economical reforms and development. He followed the policy of the 5-year plans to increase production and to prove more employment opportunities. Stress was laid on manufacturing. To increase agriculture production, large state-controlled farms were set up. Under the plan of modernize the defense forces, Germany started manufacturing naval and airships. Price of essential items were kept under control. Imports and exports were also controlled to maintain the favorable balance of trade. And thirdly, anti-Jews policy. The Nazi Party and Hitler showed a great dislike for the Jews, Christians and communists. They held them responsible for the German defeat in the First World War due to their betrayal. Hitler put a large number of Jews in the concentration camps. They were denied German citizenship, dismissed from government jobs, and prohibited from practicing medicine, law, and many other professions. The Jews were forced to live in ghettos, in isolation. No Jews could marry a German. Hitler banned to eliminate the Jews race completely. According to an estimate, he put to death about 6 million of them, including men, women, and children. Okay? So this was his domestic policy. Now we talk about his foreign policy. First of all, he disregarded the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler had started the Ruhr movement and compulsory military service in gross violation of the Treaty of Versailles. He preached the gospel of victorious swords. He said, "He who does not wish to fight has not the right to exist in the world." He not only stopped the payment of war indemnity, but also took back the territory Saar from France in 1934 AD and in 1936 AD. German troops re-entered Rhineland and fortified it. while it had been demilitarized by the Treaty of Versailles. Now, his imperialist and expansion foreign policy. Hitler had imperialist designs and wanted to establish the rule of the swastik over the world. He wanted to unite all German-speaking people in one country under the policy called Deutschland. To acquire more territories, Hitler made use of force and rejected all international treaties. In 1934, he entered into a non-aggressive treaty with Poland for a period of 10 years for the safety of its eastern frontiers. He reclaimed the territory of Sark and Rhineland from France. In 1936, he made a treaty with Italy known as the Rome-Berlin Axis. Later, when Japan joined in 1937, it was called the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo Axis. He attacked Sudetenland and Austria in 1938. He acquired Czechoslovakia with the connivance of British and France due to the Munich Pact. Both Britain and France adopted a policy of appeasement towards Germany under Hitler. They did not oppose him when attacked the rest of Czechoslovakia in March 1939. He also conquered Denmark, Norway, Luxembourg and Belgium. Thirdly, the pan-German unity. Hitler believed that all the people of the Aryan race must be united in the German Empire. It meant that Germany, Austria, Poland, Czechoslovakia and few other territories in Eastern Europe should be unified through conquest. Hatred for the Jews. Hitler followed an anti-Jewish policy, the Nazi Party, and Hitler showed a great dislike for the Jews. They held them responsible for German defeat in the First World War due to their betrayal. He put a large number of Jews in the concentration camps. They were denied German citizenship, dismissed from government jobs, and prohibited from practicing medicine, law, and many other professions. Although you might find that these are some of the repeated terms, but it's better for your revision. Okay. And lastly, about Hitler was his fall. So it was only when Hitler attacked Poland on the 1st of September 1939 that Britain and France issued an ultimatum to Germany, which Hitler ignored. Thus began the Second World War, in which Germany was totally defeated by the Allied forces. She surrendered in 1945. Hitler is said to have committed suicide. With his death, Nazism and Nazi dictatorship regime also came to an end. And that was the end of Hitler. It has been said that he, inside a bunker, he went and shot himself. He took a gun, put it up to his brain, and he blew it off, because he knew if he was caught by the Allied forces, they would kill him very, very mercilessly. So it was better for him, in order to be free from all the tortures, he shot himself and gave up his life. And then that was the end of Hitler. Now children, in this contest we would talk about Mussolini's domestic policy. First of all, restoration of law and order. After assuming the office of the Prime Minister, Mussolini became very powerful. He eliminated all oppositions. He appointed faithful fascists to higher posts in civil and military departments. A fascist militia, the voluntary fascist militia, means an armed force called the Black Shirts. They were appointed and was made a part of the state. In this way, established law and order in the entire country. Economical reform. Mussolini reduced government expenditures, improved transport and communication, reclaimed land and increased agricultural yields. He took measures to devaluate the Italian currency. He set up hydroelectric power plants to overcome the shortage of coal. All factories and mills were nationalized to improve the lot of workers. He started an impressive public works program, which included the building of roads, bridges, canals, railways, schools, hospitals, etc. Also, efforts were made to eradicate illiteracy by making elaborate provisions for education. Many new schools, colleges and libraries were set up. Now, establishment of corporations. He introduced the theory of corporate state. The workers and the employers had their separate syndicates. There were 13 syndicates in all. The main were agricultural, trade and commerce, industries, insurance, banking, air and overseas transport, etc. In the National Corporation, both workers and employees had equal representation. The National Council of Corporation had a central committee which included all fascist ministers. The state fixed minimum wages for the workers, who were also given unemployment benefits and paid holiday. Workers' working hours were fixed, Sunday was declared as a holiday. Educational reforms, a large number of schools were set up in different parts of the country, and education for children by the age of 6 to 14 years was made compulsory. All the principals of the schools and colleges were fascist. Measures against the Jews. Mussolini was against the Jews. He wanted to maintain the superiority of the Italians. Therefore, he imposed several restrictions on the Jews. They were asked to leave Italy within 6 months. They were sacked from government jobs. Jews were debarred from practicing law in the court. Development in the means of transport and communication. The means of transport and communication were greatly developed. New railway tracks and roads were built. All the important towns were linked with roads. Radio and telegraph system was developed. Thus, Italy became a world power and her prestige was raised. But the fascist rule in Italy was worst type of misrule. Italians were denied even basic human rights. They were denied freedom of speech and expression and the right of form associations and trade unions. Freedom of the press was crushed. Spies reported on the activities of members of symptomized all over the parts of the political parties. People were imprisoned and even killed without trial. In 1928, Mussolini passed a new law abolishing the universal suffrage. Candidates who were officially nominated by the fascist Grand Council could contest for elections only, rest all couldn't. Okay? Now, in this part we talk about Mussolini's foreign policy. Okay, first of all, occupation of Rhodes and Dodecanese Islands. The first success of Mussolini was the occupation of Rhodes and Dodecanese Islands in 1923. The Treaty of Lausanne ratified Italy's occupation on these islands. The Corfu incident, one of the islands of Greece in 1923, further raised her prestige when Italy got 5 crore lira as compensation from Greece. Occupation of Ethiopia in 1936, Mussolini attacked Ethiopia. The Ethiopian soldiers surrendered before the Italian forces. In 1936, Eritrea and Somalia land were merged with Ethiopia and a new state called Italian East African came into being. Rome-Berlin Axis. Mussolini's Ethiopian invasion was condemned by several powers, but Germany kept silent. Both Germany and Italy were against Russian communists. In 1936, they signed a pact which came to be known as the Rome-Berlin Axis. In 1936, Italy re-signed on the membership of the League of Nations. Friendship with the European powers. In order to rectify the provisions of the Treaty of Versailles, Mussolini started making friendly relationships with the other European powers. In 1924, he recognized the communist government of Russia. In 1935, Rome Pact was signed with France. In 1935, he signed the treaty with Britain. And in 1939, he made a full alliance with Germany and joined the war against the Allies in 1948. Okay? So, as we have read, that every great man has to die one day. Eventually, Mussolini, a great man of Italy, also had to die. So, Italy's position had become untenable by the summer in 1943, as the Allies had attacked Sicily and were planning to march on Rome. The factories were ground to the virtual standstill due to the lack of raw materials, coal and oil. There was a chronic shortage of food also. Most of the members of the Italian fascist government had turned against Mussolini. He was summoned by King Victor Emmanuel III and was dismissed. He was arrested on 20th April 1945 and was later on shot dead. He, while being jailed with the help of few of his well-known officials, he escaped from the jail along with his wife. And while on his way, on his escape, he was caught by the mob and he was shot down. So that is how Mussolini's reign came to an end. So children, these are a few small points, failures and weakness of the fascism and Nazism. You should know about it on the contrary when you come to an end. So fascism and Nazism brought about violence and terror. Attacking Russia was a major blunder on Hitler's part, led to the corpse and conspirators brought danger to world peace. And finally, children, we come to the last achievements of Nazism and fascism. Not only demerits, there are certain merits also. Okay? First of all, civil order and increase in efficiency. National coincidence, the rulers could unify their countrymen and gave them a faith to live and a cause to die for. Stability was brought about. Okay? So these are some of the good things that happened. Where people were running here and there. Now actually they became united and they started thinking. Nationalism not only grew in Italy and Germany, but nationalism grew in all the countries of the Europe, or rather in all the countries which had participated in the war. So finally we have finished this chapter, and children, this is my humble request to you all to see page 207 where short answer type of questions are there, and you see page 208 where the structured questions are there. These questions usually come in your exams, okay, in the form of question A, B, C, D. In 4 parts they come. So it is my humble request that you please do these questions in your notebooks, or either if you prefer you can make your notes also. I have no problem with that. Okay. But the more you work, the harder you work, it will benefit you, because we do not know these times till when they are going to last. As we have seen, cases are increasing around the world. Maybe we will have to sit and study in our heard. And I hope that these notes, these slides which we are preparing, they will help you. And if you have any other problem, we can discuss it in the Zoom classes, which will be held very soon. Okay.